having a touchdown batted away from him when he should have tried to protect the ball better. That's not how potential superstars are supposed to work and try to win games.
I know. And those are all the games of week number 11. Now let's go into the games of week 12, starting with the bye teams. Cleveland Browns, Johnny Manziel, good luck for the rest of the season trying to get that team any wins. Saints, defense needs to be cleaned up. That's where Dennis Allen, former Oakland coach, has to come in and clean up the mess. Dead last in the league. The Giants...
the Giants have 2 weeks to try and right themselves.
And Hakeem Nicks, welcome back.
Yeah, that's another thing. The Giants brought Hakeem Nicks back from the scrap heap after he was basically out of a job the first half of the season.
Steelers, they are probably going to be in the thick of the AFC wildcard race, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go to the Thursday night game. What an embarrassing selection from the NFL for Thursday night. Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's start it off here. Fourth quarter, and it's 13. Basically, Rashad Green returns a big punt for 63 yards for the Jaguars, setting up the 5-yard touchdown pass from Blake Bortles to Julius Thomas with 3:30 remaining. The Jags win 19-13.
The record doesn't show it, but Jacksonville has actually played much better football the last couple of games. Blake Bortles looks like he's getting a little bit more comfortable in the scheme of the offense. It also helps that he's got a good and underrated receiving core to work with, and more importantly, the defense is starting to really round into form.
I know it's Seattle Seahawks East Coast.
Yeah,
that's because Gus Bradley comes from Seattle. He was the defensive coordinator. He's bringing that cover three pressure, that cover three defense that they have there. A lot of pressure around the middle. Mm-hmm. Good sacks that they had on Mariota. It really showed last night. And by the way, now let's go into some of the other games. The Jets taking on the Texans. I don't have the Texans flag, and honestly, you know why? Even though TJ Yates, yes, he got the win against Cincinnati last week, but this time around, let's see what he can do against the Jets team, especially when his wide receiver, who got the game-winning touchdown, faces Darrelle Revis.
This is a game the Jets should win. You know why? Because the Jet offense is better than the Texans offense.
Oh.
Houston's offensive formation stinks. Their quarterbacks basically should be playing arena football. I don't even think they're cut for Canada. That's first of all. Second of all, their best running back out for the season. And who is their wide receiver rotation?
But you got DeAndre Hopkins. He has over 760 yards in the year. He leads the NFL. He's the number one, and he's going to be up against Revis. So right there, that takes DeAndre Hopkins out.
That should be a matchup that, quite frankly, Darrelle Revis should win. But why are the Jets going to have problems here? Because the Texans have played spectacular defense this season.
J.J.
Watt, and also
Whitney Merciless.
Yep, and also Jadeveon Clowney. The front four is going to give Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot of trouble. And the Jets are stuck with a quarterback with no athletic ability. He cannot move around in the pocket.
I'm sorry. There are times when he can. When he sees an opening, the guy can run. He can go off on the run. His problem is he's got to slide. He has to go for these stupid head-first plays, and you saw that weeks ago when he busted his finger against Oakland. He cannot make those kind of maneuvers. The guy can run.
He's also not very efficient, and he has major, major problems throwing a deep ball. But Ryan Fitzpatrick is just not the guy. And I know that they're over 500 with him as the starting quarterback. When you look at them on paper, the Jets should win this game, but I have this sneaking suspicion that the Texans' defense is really going to rally to come up big here. I like Houston in this one. That's my upset special. I think the Texans are going to beat the Jets, and it's going to be the defense that does the job.
I'm going with the Jets and their fourth-ranked defense and their league-low 88.1 rushing yards. Granted, Houston doesn't have much of a running game, but I still like the Jets in this one. Look out for Eric Decker.
This is the game to watch this weekend. Packers-Vikings, NFC North on the line. The slumping Packers against the also ever-improved Vikings with a really solid quarterback, second-year guy
wins.
with a 5-game winning streak, an all-world running back in Adrian Peterson, a really underrated duo of receivers, and a defense that has just been coming on like gangbusters these last 5 games. And as for the Packers, again, what has happened to Aaron Rodgers? He's completely inaccurate. He's overthrown receivers. He hasn't responded well to any of the blitz packages that have been coming his way. All signs should point to a Vikings victory, but who's going to make the big play here? Aaron Rodgers has been known to make one big play after another. Teddy Bridgewater, although he has come on by leaps and bounds from his rookie season, this is the first real big game that he's going to be going up against.
I think they got this. I think Adrian Pearson is going to be able to run all over them. And you know what? I think Matt Asiata might get some plays in there as well for the Vikings, too, in this game. And expect to see some Wallace plays, too, put into this game because everybody's going to be focused on Stephon Diggs. Look out for Mike Wallace. He may have a player or two that could change the game for the Vikings. I think they're going to win. I really honestly believe the Vikings, this has been their year. This is their season. That defense in the top 10 with Anthony Barr and Harrison Smith have been gangbusters. I like this Vikings team. And you know what? The Rodgers has been sacked 11 times in the last 3 games. Make it 4 sacks in this game. I'm sorry, but I'm going with A-Rod to go down this week. The Bengals and the Cardinals, man, talk about revenge factor right here.
Yeah, this is the other game to check out, and it's going to be on prime time. As far as revenge is concerned, I doubt Carson Palmer has that on his mind. I mean, it's been 5 years since he last played in the Bengals uniform, and a lot of the guys that he last played with, they've moved on. But this is going to be a really interesting matchup. 2 teams that are really, really good at quarterback, and a really good quarterback-receiver combo for each side.
Oh, yeah.
But the question here is, which defense is going to make the big play, and also, can Carson Palmer come up with enough big plays to try and lead the Cardinals down the field?
I think he can. Look at what he did last week with Michael Floyd, those 2 big touchdown passes against Seattle in one of the most hostile territories you could ever play football in. If he was able to do that there, I don't think he'll have a problem doing that in the desert against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is very vulnerable now. Coming off that big loss to Houston, yeah, they may, want to take their frustrations out on Arizona. But if I'm Andy Dalton, do not throw near the Honey Badger. I'm talking about Tyrann Mathieu right there in that secondary. And Patrick Pearson, probably one of the deadliest combos of secondary players. Both, by the way, LSU players.
Yeah.
And, you got Carson Palmer, who has another former Bengal as his teammate, Jermaine Gresham.
Yeah.
So those 2 really have a lot of stake. They really want to take down their old team, I think, this week. Because he couldn't do that the last time he was with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Expect Carson Palmer this time to have a big performance, giving the Bengals their 2nd straight loss in the desert. Andre Ellington and Chris Johnson, wow. You're going to have a great night in the ground. Now, the next game right here, in the NFC East, you got the Buffalo Bills, who have won 2 straight against the Jets and the Dolphins. Now they played their toughest AFC East opponent, the New England Patriots, who they played earlier in Orchard Park. They almost came back in that game.
Yeah. Almost came back, but it's just not good enough. The Patriots are just better all the way around.
Especially in the 4th quarter. They ended up losing, 40-32, but they did have 19 unanswered points, the Bills. They could play a factor in this Monday night, another primetime game. And you know what? When you have, Tyrod Taylor, when you have Carlos Williams and LaShawn Shane McCoy, and you have Sammy Watkins all together, the Bills have been 4-1 this year. They're going to be together this week. I'm smelling upset. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills to take down the New England Patriots.
Sorry. The Patriots are better everywhere. In spite of the manpower problems that they've had recently, never, ever go against Tom Brady. You certainly don't go against Rob Gronkowski. All Patriots all the time in this one. Now, next game, a tougher game for the Broncos than you think, because they're going to start Brock Osweiler as their quarterback in place of the injured Peyton Manning. Just to give you an idea about what this kid is all about, he played at Arizona State for 4 years. He's a big, powerful guy. He's 6'8" and about 245 pounds. But as far his actual ability as a quarterback, his mechanics are all over the place. He doesn't have a very strong arm, which is shocking considering this guy's size. And also, he's very, very inaccurate. Plus, he does not respond well to pressure. You look at him in the Kansas City game when he relieved Peyton Manning in that game.
He did get 2 touchdowns in that
He
performance.
threw a couple of touchdowns, but there were times when the Chiefs really, really flustered that kid, who, by the way, is going to celebrate his 25th birthday in this upcoming game. He's also playing in an offense that is just not suited to him. It's suited to Peyton Manning. You put him in a system that can actually cater to his skill set. He could probably function a little bit more, but when you have a guy who has to play in a Peyton Manning tailored offense, I'm not really sure that this is the kind of thing that can really benefit the kid.
I don't think this offense is even tailored to Peyton Manning. He's had to compromise with Kubiak. The team that he's really tailored for is the Bears, considering who the coach is, John Fox. Talk about another revenge plot factor right here. 4 years from 11 to 14. He led them to a 46-18 record, 4 AFC West division titles, Super Bowl 48 appearance that ended in infamy against Seattle in New York. And honestly, the Broncos letting him go after 4 days. Then he got a 4-year deal from the Bears. He brought his offensive coordinator, Adam Gase, who is always a perennial coaching candidate at the end of each season, who's really done wonders with Jay Cutler, who last year had 18 overall turnovers. And to boot, Jeremy Langford, the rookie out of Michigan State, has done a great job the last few weeks in place of Matt Forte.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what he's been doing with this team. I'm going with the Bears to win at Soldier Field. And
I should say the Bears because, quite frankly, Jay Cutler is a better quarterback than Brock Osweiler. But honestly, this game could go either way because when you think about it, the Broncos have the better defense in this one than the Bears do. You would like to think that the Broncos would be able to rely on their defense to try and cover up their their fourth-year quarterback's deficiencies. Honestly, I really couldn't begin to tell you where to go with this one.
Who would you pick?
I would say the Bears, but with extreme caution.
Okay, we got several games to go, so we're going to go through them quickly. You got the 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, a NFC West division rivalry match. Last time, embarrassing Thursday night. 49ers lose 20-3. This time, the game goes to CenturyLink Field. They've lost 2 straight, the Seahawks, at home. They haven't lost 3 straight in 7 years. Could this be the time where the 49ers get some vengeance back from their loss?
No. This is the Seahawks game to win. Why? Because Blaine Gabbert is going to be starting at quarterback again. And here's another thing. We may be seeing the last of Colin Kaepernick in Frisco. Don't be surprised if you see this guy get traded somewhere during the offseason. As far as who wins this game, all Seahawks all the time in this one. They get back to 500.
And this time they want to win, don't commit the 14 penalties and don't go 1 for 8 on 3rd down. You got to improve that overall. But yes, I like the Seahawks in this one. Now we got the next game. The Cowboys looking to avoid an 8-game skid, going to South Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins last week beaten NFC East team in the Eagles 20-19. This time, however, they got the Cowboys coming back potentially with Tony Romo or not. And that's what kind of factored into my decision. I don't think we're going to see Romo play this week. I believe, but you never know. His status could change at any time. I heard even Jerry Jones singing in the shower, knowing that his star quarterback even practiced. Who knows if he's going to even... The fact that I even brought that up is beyond me. But nonetheless, the Cowboys really have to get back to winning.
Yeah, they do. And the fact that Romo is activated for this game should tell you something, which means he is going to be available. And I think he starts this game, and if he does, then it only improves the Cowboys' chances even more because they did nothing with Brandon Weeden and Matt Castle as their quarterback rotation. I say the Cowboys win this one, and it could be that this could be the beginning of something interesting going on deep in the heart of Texas.
I actually see Rashad Jones doing a good matchup on Des Bryant. I'm going with the Dolphins and their defense to win this game.
Tell you what, if the Cowboys lose this game, and their season really is done, considering the fact that, and which is saying a lot, considering that the NFC East has been terrible this year.
Chargers, Chiefs, AFC West rivalry matchup.
Chargers are horrendous. What has happened in San Diego?
Well, okay, let's not forget the fact that most of their offensive line has been injured. You know, when you factor in Orlando Franklin's knee injury, King Dunlap missing the Bears game with an ailing ankle injury, Chris Watt on injury reserve with a shoulder. That's 3/5 of your offensive line. Then you lose your start receiver in Keenan Allen to a lacerated kidney for the year. You got a torn labrum injury from Malcolm Floyd. Melvin Gordon, your rookie running back, who you spent in the first round out of Wisconsin, had that 2,000-yard season for the Badgers, hasn't even done that. He's been an utter disappointment. Woodhead is maybe the little offense that they have along with Antonio Gates. The offense has been killing them despite the fact that Rivers has had 300-yard games in 4 straight games. I just do not see it happening this time. I'm going with Alex Smith and the Chiefs winning. Charkandrick West has been a great addition since Jamal Charles went down for the year.
The Chiefs have just been rolling. On the other side, the Chiefs have been rolling. They played better defense. Alex Smith has become very, very comfortable sitting back in the pocket. I also like San Diego in this one.
Oh,
correction. I like Kansas City in this one.
How about the Washington Redskins going up against the Carolina Panthers? And believe me, this time, though, they're on the road. They are better at home, the Redskins, when they're 4-1. And when Kirk Cousins doesn't throw a pick, they win. It's simple. When Cousins doesn't get picked, they win.
When Cousins doesn't turn the ball over in any way, whether it's a pick or he loses a fumble, the Redskins are a better team.
But you know what? They're going up against Carolina. They're firing all cylinders here. I like Cam Newton and the Panthers to win.
Yeah, I like Carolina in this one, too. They're just worlds apart offensively.
Okay, Matt Hasselbeck. Talk about another quarterback that's injured. Andrew Luck, lacerated kidney, abdominal issues he had in the 27-24 victory over Denver 2 weeks ago. Out this week and maybe for the next 2 to 6 weeks.
Oh, boy.
So Hasselbeck, his third start of the season up against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have been cold.
Ice cold. They had major problems scoring the last 3 games.
Three out of the last 4 they've lost. And despite the fact that Ryan's numbers, he's had 700 yards and he's completed 74.4% with 3 touchdowns and an interception in the skid. It doesn't matter. The fact is they are losing. They are losing in such bad ways. And Devonta Freeman, he's not being the star running back that they had him to be in the first few games, first 5 starts he had. He needs to get back to running the ball better. Matt Ryan's defense has got to really step it up.
Yeah, it could be that the Colts maybe the good tonic that the Falcons need, because now that the Colts are going to be without Luck for a time, they're going to be extremely vulnerable offensively. I like Atlanta in this one.
Hasselbeck did win the 2 starts that he replaced Luck for early in the season against AFC South teams by 1 possession. Yes, but I don't think they win this week. I'm going with the Falcons. Buccaneers, Eagles, both teams, one coming off a big victory, the other coming off a big loss. I really I'm going to go for Philadelphia in this one. I think they rebound at home. They correct some of the mistakes they had last week. And yes, despite the fact it's Mark Sanchez starting this week, I think him and the rest of that wide receiving core are going to pick it up. I'm going with the Eagles.
You know how I pointed out the 2 best games to watch this weekend? This is the worst game to watch this weekend. Both teams have major problems scoring, specifically in the red zone. The Eagles are a 3-and-out waiting to happen. The Buccaneers, they're still trying to round themselves into form with a rookie quarterback in this one. This looks like a 7-6, 10-7, 13-10 type of game in favor of somebody. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ended in a tie. That's a cover your eyes and point type of game.
We got the Raiders and the Lions facing each other. I'm going with the Detroit Lions to win at home this week. Coming off that big victory against Green Bay, I think they pick it up. I think the running game could get picked up. They're going up against one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. This could be the week that Joique Bell or Theo Riddick has a big 100-yard game on the ground. Mm-hmm. I'm going with the Lions and Stafford to win at home. Mm-hmm. And finally, the Rams are facing the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Foles, starting quarterback against Joe Flacco. This is not even a choice right here. I'm going with Flacco and the Ravens, despite the fact that Brashad Perriman, the guy they spent a first-round pick from UCF, is done for the year.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they lost their star wide receiver Steve Smith for the season, I think their team is much better than what St. Louis has to offer in this week's game.
That's the second worst game to watch this weekend. Whereas the Rams' quarterback situation is a cruel joke, at least the Ravens have Joe Flacco, a proven winner to rely on. I also like Baltimore in this one.
Now let's go into, I can't believe this, Week 12 college football. You got the top 10 games. California Golden Bears, Stanford Cardinals, Pac-12.
The big game. And if Stanford wins this one, they win the Pac-12 North, hands down.
I got Stanford winning this as well. You know, this is reminiscent of the 1982 on-the-field band game. Let's hope that we don't have that again. The Battle of Arizona for the Territorial Cup. The Arizona Wildcats against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Both teams have had horrific seasons.
Yeah, that's the Desert Classic, as I like to call it. Arizona, do you know that Arizona is the only school in that league to have never won the league? And they've been in the league since 1978.
And how about this? They're one of 5 teams that hasn't had a bye this season. Mm-hmm. They played every game since early September.
Yeah.
So you factor that in. The injury to Scooby Wright on their defense and all the things that have befallen this team. And you wonder why they're 6-5 this year.
Yep. And, of course, there's also Colorado and Utah that were added to the league a couple of years ago. But at least each of those schools won conference titles when they were in other leagues. Arizona has never won a conference championship in school history in football.
I got the Sun Devils winning this.
And I got the Sun Devils winning that one, too.
USC Trojans, Oregon Ducks, a huge Pac-12 matchup right here.
Could it be that the Trojans might be back all the way? I would say so. And I think USC wins this one.
Yeah, the fact is that they've won 4 straight USC since with their new head coach, Clay Helton.
And Oregon, coming off their biggest win of the year, winning at Stanford. I smell letdown here.
You going with Oregon?
I like USC.
Me too. How about this? Mississippi State Bulldogs, Arkansas Razorbacks, SEC West Classic right here. That could be.
Yep. Arkansas, the most difficult team to try and figure out, winning the games they're supposed to lose, losing the games they're supposed to win. Technically, this is a game they're supposed to lose right here. But Mississippi State is tough. They're strong at quarterback. They can pile up points at any time. But Arkansas has played better football the last 2 or 3 weeks this season. This can go either way.
Brandon Allen, the quarterback for Arkansas, 12 touchdowns in the 4 games that they've won. I'm going with the Razorbacks to win this. UCLA Bruins, Utah Utes. This really has a lot of implications in the Pac-12 South right here.
Yeah. It's now gotten to the point where Utah and USC are tied for the South Division lead. Utah has to win their last games and get one USC loss in order to secure the South Division title.
Or UCLA has to hope that both teams lose their last 2 and UCLA wins their last 2, against both Utah and USC. So this is a puzzle of epic proportions for this Pac-12 South.
Yeah.
Any one of these 3 teams could win that division. I'm going with, the Utes. Devonta Booker, man. He's a great running back. Then you got the LSU Tigers against the Ole Miss Rebels. A huge SEC matchup. I like LSU to end their losing skid this week. Leonard Fournette comes back.
Yeah, Ole Miss has been a disappointment this season. Leonard Fournette does make his return. I like LSU in this one. The next game, Texas Christian and Oklahoma. I think all bets are off with TCU winning the Big 12 this season. Oklahoma, they're still in the running for the Big 12 title. They're just a game behind. They've got this game, and then Bedlam with Oklahoma State is left in their schedule. And I think Oklahoma pulls it off. I like them to beat TCU this weekend.
And not only that, with Trevon Boykin's injury last week, that's what really could hurt against Kansas nonetheless. 23-17, even though they won that game, he's a game-time decision. Josh Doxson's out for the year. That's a big receiver right there. Yeah, I like Samaje Perine and that Baker Mayfield air raid to win it out. Michigan Wolverines, Penn State Nittany Lions, a Big Ten classic right here.
A huge Big Ten classic. And what about the job that Jim Harbaugh has done with his alma mater? I mean, this is basically close to Urban Meyer proportions, although Meyer was more of a miracle worker his first 3 seasons. I like Michigan in this one. Penn State's been a disappointment.
I like Michigan too. Jake Rudock, 6 touchdowns, 440 yards, and completing over 70% in his last 2 games. Penn State, they got a ferocious defense that leads the league FBS with 42 sacks. That's going to be an interesting matchup.
And coming up next, Baylor and Oklahoma State.
Ooh.
The Cowboys, one of, I think, 4 undefeated teams left in the season, along with 6 undefeated teams left in the season, along with Clemson, the University of Houston, and a couple of others.
I know, it's really Oklahoma State, the fact that they're leading the Big 12 right now, they have to keep this momentum going. And they have this crazy rotation, J.W. Walsh and Mason Rudolph, this 2-headed quarterback monster that they keep using, and that Mike Gundy uses is unbelievable. Baylor, the Bears, coming off their first loss of the year last week to Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma State basically escaped by the skin of their teeth and beating a really, really bad Iowa State squad. Now the real meat of their schedule is here. This weekend, and then Bedlam against Oklahoma is left on their schedule. Can Oklahoma State pull this off? Baylor can really score a lot of points.
Do you know the last time when Baylor won in Stillwater? 1939.
Well, it looks like that it's going to hold true to form this time.
Yeah, I'm going with Oklahoma State. I think they keep it up. I think the Bedlam game is going to tell us who the Big 12 champion is this year. I do like the doublehead monster quarterback there.
Finally, Michigan State and Ohio State.
Ooh.
Oh, speaking of the meaty part of the schedule, Ohio State has the Spartans this weekend, and then probably the game of the year. And we've been saying that about so many other games, but Michigan versus Ohio State is always the game of the year for those 2 schools. And when you consider...
But this week's game, especially...
first things first, this weekend is huge for Ohio State. If they want any chance to try and defend their national title, they're going up against a Michigan State squad that can really, really rack it up offensively.
But last week, when they won 24-7 over Maryland, Michigan State, their quarterback, Connor Cook, had a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
If he can't play, and it's Tyler O'Connor, who came in, did get a touchdown, but got picked off, then it's all bets are off for Michigan State in the horseshoe. I like Ohio State with J.T. Barrett to win.
Yeah, J.T. Barrett has officially been reinstated. Let's see if he can make some big, big plays here.
Man, I'm just like, I'm so excited. The fact that it's Week 12 college football, Week 11 NFL, we're just, we're weeks away from both seasons ending and the playoffs and bowl games happening. Jamie, as always.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And, of course, as you know, next week we will not be on the air because CTV will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. However, we will be back on Friday, December 4th for a new episode of the Blitz Zone. So for all the hard-working men and women at CTV, for Mr. Kenneth Graham behind the booth, for Jamie the sportsman Hickson with the awesome hat.
Thank you.
I'm Eric Rosen. We'll see you here in 2 weeks. And I want to wish all my viewers the happiest of Thanksgivings. Good night, Staten Island.
Try not to eat a lot of turkey.
Or watch too much football. Actually, do watch too much football.